Now, the main story this evening, Hurricane Melissa has now crossed Jamaica as the strongest storm to ever hit the Caribbean nation in modern history. The storm is expected to remain severe. It's now on its way to Cuba. It has, however, weakened to a Category 4 with wind speeds of 145 miles an hour. That is, of course, a little lower than the 185 miles per hour that they hit when they crossed Jamaica. Let's get the take of Dr. Joellen Russell, Chair of Integrative Science and Professor at the University of Arizona. Very good evening to you, Dr. Russell. Thank you so much for joining us. I spoke to a meteorologist earlier on that was saying, you know, in that profession, this is a fascinating occurrence. Of course, thoughts and prayers with the people of Jamaica. What do we know at the moment about this storm, how bad it is? Will it start to lose strength and power now over the next few hours?
We don't expect it to lose much power and strength over the next couple of hours, but as it moves over Cuba, yes, we expect it to weaken significantly. And of course, on the north side of Cuba, there's significantly less of this extremely hot water, which allowed Melissa to grow so quickly into a Category 5 hurricane.
Just explain that to us as though we are weather idiots here in the studio, because no offence, fellas, but I think to some extent we are. So what does that mean? Why did that make the situation so much worse in Jamaica?
So hotter water makes for bigger hurricanes. The heat in the ocean drives the convection, which drives the strength and intensity of that hurricane, as well as the high winds and the extreme rainfall. So we did expect, the forecasts were quite good. They were very accurate, excellent amount of prep time available, but it's not just the sea surface temperature, it's that water right off of Jamaica was significantly warmer than normal and was quite deep, that very warm water layer. One
of the things I like about America is that you are quite open about some of the weather modification methods which the government have used over the years. You had a Senate hearing about them recently. We don't talk about that in the UK. It's a secret that rarely gets discussed. But is there any idea or theory, or in your mind any implication, that the way that man has been tinkering around with solar radiation mitigation, cloud seeding, could that be playing a part in these more extreme events, do you think, Joellen?
We do expect that the carbon dioxide modifications have had a significant impact, because we know it's increased that energy imbalance for the planet, and that the oceans have warmed just a tremendous amount. Up to 93% of the warming has been in the oceans, which then does drive these tropical storms. I don't see a role really for more intrusive, specific interaction with geoengineering or other interference. This is just too monstrously large. And the predictions based on the basic weather pattern and the temperature of the ocean were excellent, dead on.
You know, we have these debates all the time about the fact that the planet is warming up. I think we can all agree that it is. The debate comes in whether that is man-made or whether that is just the natural evolution of our planet. But given that we know the planet is changing, the weather is warming up, do you think we should be doing more as human beings just to take steps to mitigate the impact on communities? And what could that look like in a country such as Jamaica? We're living in a time of what feels like pretty significant social change, and it makes us question things that we've even taken for granted for decades. And one of those at the moment that people are wondering about is actually money. Is the money in your bank account safe? Should you be investing elsewhere? Are we looking at a potential global crash? What will it mean for your savings? Is there a way that you could be using your money that might be outside of government control even? Well, TallyMoney is potentially one solution. So I'm delighted to say that I'm joined today by the CEO and founder of TallyMoney, Cameron Parry. What is TallyMoney?
Well, at TallyMoney, you basically get gold you can spend. So we give people an individual account in their name, everyday account. They get a sort code and account number. They use that account just like they would pounds from their bank, but it's milligrams of gold that we brand as Tally.
Okay. Why would you do that, though? What is the benefit to the customer instead of just having a normal pound sterling account?
Gold's performance against the pound is above 11% per annum over the last 25 years on average. But we still need money in our daily lives, and we have savings. We know that it's good common sense and prudent to save up for things, not just live in credit. You know, whether it's a holiday or a rainy day, your retirement planning, you need to have money in your life, basically, that you can rely on, that's dependable, that nobody meddles with, that nobody can weaponize against you, which is another element of government control when it's the government currency, which we could talk about another time. And it should be pretty simple and straightforward, and that's what we deliver at Tally. And really, we just want people to feel safe and happy with their money. There was a time when the bigger your bank balance, the more confident you felt. Now it's like, I need to do something with it. I can't leave it there. In Tally, you can.
Okay, brilliant. Cameron Perry from TallyMoney, thank you so much.
Thank you, Bev.
We absolutely could be. And there's two parts. One is you can do preparation for severe weather, which we expect to increase with the size of these storms and the heat in the ocean. But there's other things which there's quite a lot of impacts, especially even away from hazardous weather, impacts on children, impacts on our little folk who can't regulate their body temperatures as well as adults can, and don't always even know that they are what they are experiencing is actually heat stroke or other dangers. So there's quite a lot of both education and mitigation we can do locally to help make sure we keep our young ones safe.
So at the moment, just to sum up, with Hurricane Melissa, we don't expect it to get worse as it approaches Cuba. If anything, it may get a little less potent, but still the people in Cuba need to be aware of what at this stage? Wind, rain, temperature
and
change.
Flooding. It's the flooding. We're really worried about high wind speeds, which could be hurling debris. Of course, at wind speeds over 100 miles an hour, you're picking very large pieces of debris up and throwing them around. If you've got your lawn furniture out, make sure you put it away because it'll come right through your window. If you've got plywood you can put up, do it. And then the second part, of course, is flooding. If you live in a low-lying area, now's the time to evacuate because we are expecting very heavy rainfall.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Joellen Russell there, the Chair of Integrative Science and Professor at the University of Arizona. Thank you so much for talking to me this evening. And she lives in Arizona, so she's going to know a little bit about heat. That is a very hot state. Stephen Kent and Democrat strategist Mally Smith are still with me this evening. Tell me about your wife's, you said she works in this area.
Yeah,
Stephen.
so she's an atmospheric scientist, so I'm always going home and getting the weather updates when I'm looking to talk about politics. It's a great time. And she sent me with a couple main data points on this storm that she's interested in, and I've got them in front of me, and one of the things that I'm looking at right now is the wind speeds for strongest landfalling hurricane on record. This is tying Hurricane Dorian 2019 and also the Labor Day hurricane of 1935. It's also tied for third strongest in pressure with the Labor Day hurricane of 1935. And so, for me, what that means, the only thing that jumps out to me as a politics guy is the year 1935. I see that and go, okay, so strong storms are not something that started yesterday.
Yeah.
Right? So when people like Mally are very eager to talk about man-made climate change and that this is some sort of, modern phenomenon, it's not. This is tying a storm from almost 100 years ago. There are storms on this planet. Sometimes they're weak, sometimes they're strong. Are men, creating CO2 emissions and it's getting a little warmer? warmer? Sure. But I just don't like the attitude when we come to these things of, oh, there's something new going on here.
Yeah, Mally?
Well, you know, I don't have a wife writing talking points for me on
Go get one,
atmosphere.
Mally.
But what I will say is this: it's a shame that President Trump isn't here in the Situation Room, because in his first term, he had the genius idea of dropping a nuke on a hurricane to help dissipate it. So if he wasn't abroad, he could have
He
potentially
didn't
prevented.
actually do that, though.
He suggested it. So I'm glad he didn't nuclear bomb a hurricane. That is true. But if he was here, he could have potentially prevented this terrible hurricane that's hitting Jamaica.
We're seeing at the moment, apparently there are towns completely underwater in Jamaica this evening as we sit here. We know confirmed 7 people have lost their lives there. 25,000 tourists are apparently trapped. They're calling it the storm of the century, which is now making its way over to Cuba. Of course, internet is down. It seems like the obvious statement to make, but the internet is down in Jamaica. But did you guys also see this suggestion that Elon Musk has offered the Starlink system?
I'm sure he has.
Yeah.
I'm
so,
sure he
which
has.
is a satellite way. We're using satellites in order to access the internet and Wi-Fi signal under these circumstances. So we're just trying to get that verified. I'm sure that is exactly the kind of thing
Which I'm
that
sure
he would do.
if they're doing that, that's a godsend, because you don't realize how much you rely your entire life on the internet until you don't have it.
Yeah, and these low Earth orbit satellites, of which SpaceX is a part, they're going to change the world for connectivity on all sorts of things, including, war zones and also disaster areas when it comes to storms. Just on a technology point, like SpaceX is currently sort of one of the only games in town, but now Amazon is in this space too with Project Kuiper. Very exciting to see. So I think we're going to see more people not get left in the dark when the worst thing in the world happens to you, which is, an act of God type storm like we're seeing here with this Hurricane Melissa.
Well, we know that there are about 500,000 Jamaicans were left without power today following this hurricane. The country's Minister of Local Government and Community has said that the number of those without power are up around 77% of Jamaica Public Service Company customers. Work is presently on the way, they said, to restore our service to give priorities to the critical facilities such as hospitals and water and pumping stations, weather permitting. 15,000 Jamaicans went to shelters, apparently. So I think there are public shelters as well as the shelters in individual houses. But it has now, as we say, the hurricane is making its way out to sea, heading towards Cuba. So it was a Category 3 storm, 125-mile-an-hour winds. Its center was around 160 miles southwest of Guantanamo Bay in Cuba, apparently, and it's moving north to northeast at 8 miles per hour. That seems very slow.
Picking up more warm water on the way.
Yeah. The weather agency is saying it's still a powerful hurricane, threatens to bring up to 20 inches of rain and damaging winds to the eastern part of Cuba as it makes its way in that direction. Of course, under these circumstances, travel impossible, roads absolutely impassable, damage assessment only just beginning, of course, as people emerge from their properties to see what is left of the homes that they might have had a few hours earlier. Just extraordinary. It's kind of impossible for us to imagine in the UK to some degree. I mean, we've had more extreme weather events in the last couple of years. Particularly, I always think in the winter, because the grids are not dredged of the leaves, so you end up filling them with leaves, and then we get terrible storms. Right, we will bring you any more news on this as we get it.